Hi, everyone. Julia here with Cheryl from Front Row Seat, where you are what you're saying, Cheryl?
Where it's all about you because you're doing it.
There you go. And it's January 22nd, 2024. And Cheryl and I were just disgusting. It's a new word. We were just discussing how disgusted we are with the prices of everything. And then we kind of went on to talk about universal basic income and how everybody's like, oh, no, that's the worst thing that could ever happen. But it's not necessarily the worst thing that could ever happen. Right, Cheryl?
Right. I was disgusting. That's funny, Julia. Well, good morning, everybody. And how are you today, Julia? Here we are in Texas where it's colder than Britain right now.
We're having a sunny day, high about 70. So sunny skies, sunny blue skies, and it's like 2:10 p.m. here.
Well, okay. I'm heading that direction. That sounds lovely.
Yeah, it's nice today.
So what we were talking about just now is, the universal basic income, and there are some changes happening in, the realm that we live in, whatever it is. And these changes, it seems like when, I think that with change, we just get really uncomfortable. We don't like the way the unknown feels, and uncertainty can be uncomfortable. But the thing about it is, when we think about things more fully, like, okay, well, what good and what's something good that could come out of that? Well, right now, everybody has to work hours and hours and hours just to kind of make ends meet everywhere. So the good part of, I know I'm just starting to think about it in different ways. I don't know. I haven't thought about it that much, but if you think about it and you don't have to work near as many hours a week, you have a basic income that you always can, that's there every month that helps you subsidize. Then you're freed up and you have a lot more time to go and do other things that you might have a passion for, and things that you might have always wanted to do, but you just really didn't have the time to do it. It was when you've got family, kids, life, all of these things going on at once. It's just really difficult to do anything that you want to do. You're always doing things that you feel like that you have to just survive. So I think it could bring us out a little bit of this survival mode and bring us into, give us a little leeway. So I don't know if it's all bad. I don't know. I'm sure that there's bad things about it and good things about it, just like there is in everything here in this realm. But I think that um, when you think about things and you look at it like, okay, the more stress you have, that drives you into the scarcity victim mentality. When you have everything you need, it kind of puts you into, you're a co-creator with your oversoul or with that bigger part of you. And so it's just two different types of consciousness. And as I was thinking around that a little bit, and I was like, it's like that old saying that money does not bring happiness. And that's been said so many times. Well, what if you flip that around? And what if happiness is what brings money? Happiness brings energy into your life. Happiness brings, so that's going to automatically set up the carrier wave that can bring other things into your reality. And so that's what I was kind of chatting about with Julie a minute ago. So what you got, Julie, this morning?
Right. So, like you were saying, it frees people up to do other things. And that's part of the issue in today's world is people don't get to bring out their creative side. So, if you only had to work 10 hours a week or something, then, or even 20, half of what people typically do, then you'd have all that time to be creative. And that guy, Paul Levy, who wrote the book about, he's written a few books about Wetiko. He studied it for many decades now, came from a schizophrenic background. And he's always saying the way to beat those, negative entities is to be creative, and that's what we're here to do. And that's why these other kind of energies prey on us, because of our creative energy, because they don't have that same thing. So our imagination, right? That's one of our big things that we have here that makes us different from the other species and the NPCs and all that. And most people don't even get to see what that side of them is about. After they get out of elementary school, especially nowadays, they don't even have art and music and all that in the schools anymore. So if you only had to work a few hours, you could learn how to play piano or whatever. You could do all kinds of things with your time, but then you got to have that self discipline and that self motivation. So that's where it comes in, where you need to have done your inner work. Because if everybody just gets to sit around at home and they haven't done their inner work, I just think that would lead to a lot of depression and sloth and gluttony, right?
Yeah, I think that uh, as consciousness evolves here, I think that, one of the things that we're here to do is to learn how to be happy no matter what the circumstances that we're in. It's not easy. And it's just a resiliency in your mind. And once you start learning about how the realm works, and that we're frequency, and then that's an electromagnetic force. And so what you are feeling and the vibration that you're in is what is bringing things to you, which it's not bad either way, because if the struggles are coming towards you, you're learning. And if the wonder, beautiful, happy things are coming towards you, then you're enjoying. So you're learning and enjoying, instead of suffering and depressed. So I think that maybe the realm is just set up as a consciousness trainer that helps us learn and to become resilient, and learn to start thinking and feeling in other ways. And I think that the emotional content within us is one of the biggest factors that brings our reality to our world, because when we feel, we are that's going out from us. It's an electromagnetic field. There's nothing that stops us, except maybe, I don't even think that those lead rooms can stop it. It's just pervades the whole universe. And so I think that once we get the hang of it, then it just gets easier and easier. But I think that's what this place is built for, so that we can learn it and get the hang of it. I don't think this ever was built to be a paradise here. I think that this is a consciousness trainer. That's been my experience. It seems like as soon as I'll complete, um, some of the tasks that is relevant in my own personal growth, and then I'll feel this sense of accomplishment, and wow, I did that. And then I go into challenge and struggle again. So I think it's just, from my personal experience, it seems like a trainer to me, Julia. It seems to me that it's really here to help you as a consciousness learn how to become happy no matter what, situation you're in. It kind of reminds me of I don't want to get his name wrong. Um, Viktor Frankl, I think is his name. I always say his name wrong. Anyway, he was in a concentration camp, and he noticed that the people that had the better attitudes, they fared much better than the ones that, as soon as they gave up and succumbed to, the the negative forces, as soon as they succumbed to that, they didn't last much longer after that. But the ones that kept a positive attitude, even though they were kind of in the struggle of it, those are the ones that survived. So it's just all these lessons that I think that we need to learn, and not seeing those lessons as this is here to break me, because it's really to make you expand and become more than what you are. So this place is not easy, Julia. And I tell you what, we all struggle here, and it's just so we can grow. It's not easy. And especially these times right now, I think consciousness is going through some big changes, and I think it's just time, right?
Right, it's definitely time, and Yeah, it's like this really detailed video game that's specifically for you to give you all these challenges and obstacles for you to overcome, and each time you overcome them, you just like you gain, I guess, you gain some confidence, and like you said, you learn how to have that resilience where you don't let what's going on around you affect how you feel, because that's what it all goes back to, keeping those emotions where you want them. And I remember this one band I used to hang out with in Austin. They had a lyric that said, "Feeling sorry for yourself is a decision, not a disease." But just like the thoughts you pick too, and it is that simple, but it's not that simple. It's those kinds of things. So you just have, it's that honest self-awareness, always being mindful of what's going on in your head and how you're feeling about things. And worrying is such a waste of time. And anytime you just start focusing on the negative, whether it's about universal basic income coming up, technocracy, and the Christian right that's going to take over, and whatever, you can just stay in your own reality bubble and manifest the life you want and keep learning your lessons. And we did choose to come here. I really feel that. And sometimes I wonder why, but like you said, it is very challenging. But that's what's making us stronger and giving us the ability to move forward and gain even more creative power. We have a lot of creative power here, but I think we have the potential to have a lot more, and that's what we're here training for. What do you think?
I completely agree because as you start moving into these higher vibrations and the emotional content, and you start healing those emotions and putting your focus there, you want to overcome the emotion. You want to fall in love with your future, fall in love with your future creations. And when you get that vibration and that starts emanating from you, then your reality has to mold itself around that, because that's what it molds itself around, is how you feel. And it's been, you know, it takes a lot of inner resiliency to overcome the negative emotions of things that's come from the past, because we've created these patterns for ourselves, and these patterns are hard to break. And getting out of all of those, it's a lot of work. But the thing about it is, it's what we're here to do. And if start looking at things, well, what's the good that I can see in this? What positive thing could possibly come out of this? Then you get a whole completely different consciousness operating there. You've got, instead of creating a negative, a negative reality, and then every now and then it's sprinkled with a flower here and there, it completely reverses and flips. You start creating a reality with flowers everywhere, and then it just has those challenges along the way sprinkled in there, because we have to keep growing no matter what. I think that's just the way we are as conscious energy. I think that we have to continue forward and always be learning here. And I think that that's just a big part of the problem, is focusing and not learning to overcome these big strong emotions that we have within us that have become patterns. And that's what Julia's worked on a long time, how to break up these patterns, how to go back and it's correct your vibe, correcting these emotional vibes. And I think that the more you do that, the more your reality is going to shift. And I've seen it in my own life, I've seen it in others around me. It's just not easy to break out of a pattern that you've had for years and years. And I think that's the areas that you're working in right now, and assisting yourself and overcoming these old you know emotions that come out of trauma and all those things. I think that what you've been talking about recently is really good. Did you want to talk about that and share that with everybody?
Yeah, I have been talking about it quite a bit on this channel, the Mace Energy Method, and I actually start my training on next Monday. So I am going for it. So that might be the shortcut we've all been looking for. It really does look like it when you have Jerry Marzinski, who has 40 years of working with psychiatric patients, the most extreme ones, in the biggest state hospital in the U.S. in Georgia somewhere, I think Atlanta. And then he also worked in a prison for over a decade with the mental patients. And, he really got into studying the schizophrenics. And of course, none of the things they do in psychiatry or psychology or in pharmacology help the schizophrenics. Nothing works. They can just be sedated, but they've pretty much said, no, there's really nothing that helps them. And Jerry comes up, finds out about Mace energy method, and says, yeah, wow, it cures everything, even schizophrenia for, the moderate to mild cases. And so to me, that's all the endorsement you need for something that it actually works. And so he even became a practitioner and has his practice and uses it. So, and I've had a session and it's super thorough and super structured, and you have that person to walk you through it all. And I think it's just what a lot of people are looking for, and it's very economical and life changing. So I think its time has come, and I hope to see a big wave of this getting pushed and a lot of people becoming practitioners. We were just talking about ways people can get income, and you don't need universal basic income to use your passion, you know, and to be able to indulge in your creative passion, because in today's world, you have um, literally a customer base at your fingertips for whatever you might have. So, it's another way that you can go and become a practitioner, help a lot of people, and also pay your way too. So, I'm really excited about it. I feel like its time has come, and yeah, I will keep everyone updated. And I know you've looked into it a little bit too, Cheryl, and we kind of talked about how it works, where they, and compared it like to computers and defragmentation and removing viruses in computers. You want to discuss that a bit?
Well, sure. If you look at this realm as and put it into a metaphor of a computer, right? Well, as a computer runs, say you hit the run button when you're born, right? So then you start having all these experiences and it goes and goes and goes. Well, you're going to have a lot of data there. And all that data is kind of like the programming, that it's like the software that runs the thing, right? And so with any computer, you're going to have like a defrag program that goes in and cleans out all your files and spruces things up in there. And then what happens when you do that is it makes the computer run much more efficient, and you can get to the things that you need to easier. The computer speed goes up, so I think that just like any computer, I think that as consciousness, I think, also needs these defrag periods. And this is one of the first therapies, this Mace therapy, that I've looked into that really looked like a defrag program to me. And when you've got something that you can correct and heal schizophrenia, they've not been able, and I don't know if a lot of people know about this, but they have not been able to do anything with schizophrenia and some other, ab, you know, I don't think it's abnormal. I think people are schizophrenic because their computer is just too gunked up. It's too gunked up with stuff that's, say for instance, you've got one program that says go, one program that says stop. Well, you've got stop and go at the same time. You've got your foot on the brake and on the gas at the same time. Well, all you're going to do is spin in circles there. So I think that this system, the Mace system, it looks exactly like a defrag system to me. But it has a special component to it. It does not drag you through and activate a bunch of emotion while it's defragging the computer. And I think that's all we've had up until now is let's, uh-oh. Are you there? Are you back? Hmm.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. There you are.
All right. I don't know what happened.
Well, Julia just got ether popped out of this podcast, but she's back.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see if the recording just kept going or should, huh?
Yeah, I think it did. Everybody can have a coffee break.
Right. But yeah, anyway, yeah, you're just saying how it compares to that. And yeah, you don't have to dredge up any memories. You don't have to even remember anything. You just, a little bit, but yeah, it's a very good system. I'm looking forward to just going into it. And did I cut off again? I'm trying to find the main screen again on here.
A little bit. I can hear you. I think
But
you're good.
yeah, we have to yeah, we have to find some modality that works for us, and I think that's a really good one. I've been encouraging people to investigate it for a bit now.
Yeah, and that's what I was just talking about, how this system, you don't have to, go into all of the files and all of the emotional content that went with those files. You can just go through the files and defrag, the system where it's either got conflicting information and it's got, okay, you need to go and stop at the same time. And because it's that double think, where we can't hold two opposing views at the same time. It's impossible. We can't do that. So I think that it just kind of cleans all that out without going into these, deep emotional places that we've all been in. And the new studies that are coming out these days is that talk therapy can probably be a little bit more harmful than, just going for a walk every day and trying, and thinking better thoughts. It's I think that, psychiatry, especially, allopathic medicine, has just been such a dismal failure. And I haven't seen, I've seen some success stories, but I think that they just really wanted it bad and they really found their own ways of doing things to get out of those negative thought patterns. And I think that that's what it's all about, is training in this trainer to learn how to stay in the positive thought patterns no matter what's going on around you. It's it reminds me of that old story. I know it's like um where they threw these people into the furnace, right? And then they went back and checked on them. There they were. They were fine. They're in the furnace and it's all cooking everywhere, but they were okay. It That reality didn't affect them at all because that's not how they felt. They didn't feel like a victim. They didn't feel persecuted. They just thought, well, here we are. We're doing this right now. What are we doing? Well, it's it's in this reality, so it's probably going to change any minute, because that's what happens. This place and our reality, it changes all the time. And so I think it's just another way to train consciousness into these better thought patterns and learning how to use our abilities here to create our own reality. And I agree with you, Julia. I think that we can create our own reality bubble. It doesn't matter what's going on out there in the world, because you can still have a good life, and you can still have what you need here no matter what's happening outside that front door. Because if you're not out there in it and connecting to that, then you're not feeling all that. You're not spiraling downward with it. You're just kind of holding your space. It's almost like you're sailing in your sailboat. Even though there's choppy waters, you're still upright, right? So yeah, that's what I think about the Mace method. I think that it's a better modality because you don't have to go through all of this negative feeling associated with inner emotional healing. I don't think it has to be painful. I think that it just is. And this is the the memory I hold. Does it make sense? Probably not. And looking at it, it's like, well, what if that's not true? What if that's a lie? And that was one of the modalities I saw in there too, where they would take these, people who really injured people, and then they would go through and defrag their computers. Like, well, is that true? Is that true about you? Is that true? And so if something comes up within you and it feels bad, the first thing you can say, well, is that true? Is it a lie? Is that a lie? Because we lie to ourselves all the time, right? And questioning our own, what we're thinking about and what we're doing, questioning ourselves, not just questioning what we see out in the world, but questioning what we're thinking and how we're feeling too. Questioning the whole thing, because when you ask yourself those questions, is this a lie? Is this true? Well, you can find other data that supports that it may not be true. And you just keep looking and discerning within yourself. And when you look out into your world and use it as a mirror to reflect back to you, it's just the effect of how you're doing. So just look at it. And then if it's not what you want, learn from it and grow and evolve. You're going to feel that, kind of, when we're in struggle, it doesn't feel perfect, but it's more of a stretching. It's more of a stretching your consciousness. And and, and when you're being stretched in different ways you're not used to, it's not going to be just comfortable, like you're all soft and comforted in a big old pillow and blanket. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be kind of walking through some thorns and going, oh wow, what's that? And it's okay, because we have both. We can look in both directions. And I think it's just super important that we question our own thoughts. Is that true? And so that was one of the things that I did take away from looking at the information about the Mace technique was, that's one of the things that they were doing with people is I think they called it is that a lie technique? I'm not sure
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, that's not part of Mace energy method. That was something that Jerry Marzinski and his co-author of the book he put out, this other lady who was a schizophrenic that cured it herself by telling the voices, that's a lie, that's a lie. It was called That's a Lie program. And he discovered Mace energy method after he was using that one. But yeah, that is not part of Mace energy method. And the thing that Mace energy method does, and that you ultimately have to do, is you have to get rid of these voices. It's not about telling them it's a lie. You get it to where they don't even come to you anymore. And that is possible. And that's what's amazing. You don't even have those voices anymore, because what Jerry has discovered is these voices are energetic beings. They're entities. They attach to you. There's people that can see them. Some of them attach to you. Some of them can actually go in you, so to speak. So there's more to this. There's a lot of woo woo to this too, but it all comes back to the mind, and our imagination. And so we can fix all this, we're in control in this reality, and we can get it to where we don't have to have this struggle at all with these thoughts. So that's what's beautiful. And just imagine, if all the young people can get themselves healed before they have children, because what happens is people are emotionally damaged, they hook up, their relationships usually aren't great, and they have kids and they don't have time for their kids because of the way the world is or whatever. So yeah, you get to the point where you are truly liberated from all that stuff. So yeah, it's more groundbreaking than so many things. It's to where you can just eliminate that whole struggle. But the key is, and Jerry says it all the time, is, what he tells these schizophrenics after he cures them. He's like, yeah, but now you got to stay on the spiritual path. You can't just go back and go hang out at the bars and watch the news and, go play, mess around with porn, or, watch horror movies, all those kind of things, mess with methamphetamine, or even pharmaceutical speed like Adderall and whatever else they have out there now. That stuff opens you up, and there are specific entities even associated with specific drugs. They don't call alcohol spirits for no reason. Meth brings on these things called shadow people, referred to by some as shadow people, but all people who have been strung out on meth have witnessed these. And sometimes, what will happen to people is they'll see them initially when they're under the influence, and then eventually they'll just come even when they're not under the influence. So yeah, there's a lot of energies going around, but there's no need at all to fear them. But you do have to be mindful of keeping your energy clear, because it's really easy for these things to attach, and it is all 100% about frequency. So, you know, like you were talking about earlier, getting to that happy frequency, nothing's going to mess with you when you're truly content. That's the best frequency right there. And then if you're, just having a loving attitude and empathy toward everything and everyone, then nothing's going to get you. And if there's these negative entities, there must be positive ones too. So maybe we have a certain quota that attaches to us. I don't know, but I know that they're there. I know that I've dealt with them, and I know that I've gotten to where I don't even have these thoughts enter my mind, which really amazes me.
Yeah, I've always wondered about the negative entities I and the positive entities. I think, people have experienced these since the beginning of time. They did, back in the old, you know, in the old ways, they would have these, spells to cast out the demons. And I think that was just the same, trying to, find a way to help the consciousness, grow and evolve. Maybe that's just it. Maybe we get to this place where we have created some negative spaces for ourselves. But if you think about it, the collective, we're all creating all this together because we're all one thing. We're all consciousness, which is the same energy. So if you've got, a lot of different pieces of the same energy creating all the time here, well, it's gonna create a lot of good things. It's gonna create a lot of bad things. And maybe that's just it. I've never seen negative entities. I've never, experienced it in that way, but I have encountered negative situations. I've encountered negative vibrations that I could feel, and all that kind of stuff. It didn't really, maybe it just didn't appear as visually to me. I think maybe I just felt it as an energy. So I think that these energies are all around us all the time, and I agree. I think that we have to learn how to, clear out the negative energies and the negative vibrations so that we can stay focused in a more positive vibration. And I think just like there's, maybe these negative entities there. Well, I think there's positive energy and positive entities there too. And I think people have described them as, soul guides and, things like that, which I think maybe it's just the part of this realm that we can't see it. So nobody can actually say exactly what it is. It may not even have anything to do with physical sight. You're right. I think that it's all in us, and I think that what we feel is kind of what we manifest in our realm at any given time. And so when we're going through struggle, I think that's why it seems like, okay, this one bad thing's happened. Okay, then now another one and now another one. But I think it's just your vibration is just bringing more of it. And I do think that there is something going on with that because I've seen this. I've seen people who were caught up in different types of lifestyle that can bring on more negativity. But even though it makes you feel better in that moment, it has all these things attached to it that you really don't understand and can't really do anything with. And so I think that that's true, that you've got to disconnect from mainstream media and all the propaganda that has a lot of the fear attached to it. I agree with all that. I think that that's part of it. I think that's part of our growth too, is to become a more spiritual being. And and if we're not doing the work, then what happens? We just keep spiraling down, 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 down into this thing to where it doesn't make sense anymore. And then your whole life's negative. So yeah, I think that this work is really needed at this juncture in time. And I think that a new technique to help us is so needed right now. I think it would be so helpful if, if this is the breakthrough everybody's been looking for. Well, then the only task now is just to get the information out there that it exists, and that, by now we should have had some breakthroughs by now in this emotional healing work. We've all, done the work in what helps us and what suits us. But if there's like a defragging component that we're not aware of that we really need, um, then having that information is not going to do anything but benefit us. And I just have to think that back in the day, when they had these big, you know, cathedrals with these big organs in them, that would put out these vibrations. I just tend to think that maybe that was there to just help us with our vibration, because when you would go into that field, well, it's going to tune you too into that frequency. And so maybe that's just it. As we learn and grow, those devices are going to be taken offline, decommissioned, whatever, so that the consciousness can then step up and be the organ and be the cathedral within themselves that creates that vibration within themselves. So those are my thoughts around that little subject there. What do you think about that, Julia?
Yeah, like like you said, it's all about your frequency, and the organs and the churches and so many things. Who knows? The Ankh may have something to do with that. Biofield tuning. It's all about getting things back at the proper resonance. And there's so many modalities. So yeah, but yeah, it's just exciting times. The time has come that for people who really want to heal to have that opportunity, and I just hope this is it. I hope I'm not being over enthusiastic. I hope I don't need to curb my enthusiasm. But yeah, time will tell. Time will tell, and everyone knows that I'll tell y'all what I think. And just so far from what I've heard, like you were just saying, anything that can treat schizophrenia, that's amazing. But then again, like Jerry said, and like I was saying, you do have to work to keep things, even as you go. So yeah, it's maintenance. Just like people who want to have their body in good shape, they can't just sit around and eat Cheetos and ice cream all day. So you have to do maintenance, whatever that may be. It might be your meditation, or just walks in nature or whatever, and just being mindful. And seriously, if you have any negative thoughts, if you're still having them, the lie is a great way to deal with them initially, and eventually you can get rid of them that way too. He's had success with that as well. But yeah, you can start there to get it to where you don't have them anymore. And that's what language lessons of the heart, the modality that I talked about so much, that was its objective too, is to get rid of these judgments that you have about yourself. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve this. I'll never have this. I'll never have that. So yeah, it's all about frequency, and you fall into that role. The system makes it happen. I was just watching a recent interview with Max Egan. It's that guy. He's on with Campbell a lot on Autodidact. I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, he interviewed Max Egan, and Max was saying how he just his voice got recorded without him even knowing it at a party, and he was giving some philosophical talk, because he's that kind of guy. Somebody recorded him, and it got uploaded to YouTube. And before that all happened, he had just thought in his head he wanted to be a DJ, so he was kind of feeling that vibe or whatever. And then that all happened without him even knowing. And then he got a call from the States asking him to come be a radio DJ. So, it's all about just feeling that vibration, and you'll fall into that role. And if it's a selfish role of falling into like a red Corvette in front of a mansion, it might be a little trickier to get there, but it's still possible. You see people do that kind of thing. But the more that you're earnest and you want to help yourself and help others, I think it makes it easier to manifest.
Well, yeah, if you think about it, the part of a human being that needs a red Corvette, that's going to be coming out of your ego. And the ego is really, I think, just it's just awareness in the service of fear, right? I'm not good enough and I don't look good enough. So if I'm driving around in a red Corvette, I'm going to look better and people are going to think more highly of me. And I think that, that's always a dead end. It's not that red Corvettes aren't pretty. It's not that, yeah, they can be fun to drive because they'll go faster on corners and things like that. But I think that it's if you're not finding this vibration within yourself, it's fleeting. So then, yeah, you can manifest that red Corvette, but then once you get it, well, then you still have that emptiness within you because you don't have that within yourself. Just like if you're sad, you don't have happiness within yourself. And I think that that's the only long lasting, thing that I think people are really looking for is we want this inner peace. And without it, we're just always, and that inner peace is kind of connected to a wholeness within yourself, right? And so if you're missing one of the pieces, like I don't feel good about myself or I don't feel worthy, then what happens is you've got a hole there and you're just trying to throw all these things in there trying to fill it, and you can't fill a hole from a objective material world. That you can't fill a spiritual hole with a physical thing, right? You've got to fill a spiritual hole with a spiritual thing. And I think that's where I think if when I think about it, that's kind of where I was kind of trapped up in it too, because I kept trying to fill these, spiritual spaces within myself that needed work and, attention with the physical things. Because to me, for many, many years, I live in a physical reality and this is what it is. And when I started moving more in a spiritual way and going in, then I started realizing, wait a minute, that's not all that's here. It's also a spiritual world too. And who knows which one is real? I think they're both real. I think we experience the real physical world, but I also think that the real foundation is this inner spiritual world that we have too. And it'll just never work because you're always going to need more and more and more. Okay, so you get the bigger house, you've got the Corvette out in the driveway, you've got all of these things that you think is going to make you happy. And then that's where that saying comes from. Well, money doesn't buy happiness. And it's because of that, because you can't fill a spiritual void with a material thing. Because I think it's the other way around. Then when you start trying to plug in a more spiritual component to it and feeling it that way, of calming your mind, learning how to come out of resistance, um, allowing your energy to flow in more positive ways. When you start doing these practices, that's when you can see your reality start changing. And that's why I think that the subjective world is really the real reality. The objective world that we see out there, I think, is just a mirror, something that we learn and grow from. So yeah, that red Corvette, I can see how they could be fun, but I can also see how that's just another thing on your road that you're going to have to deal with. Because okay, now you've got the red Corvette. Well, now you've got to take care of that car. It's going to need oil and gas, and it's going to need all this maintenance, and then you start getting all these possessions trying to fill this void. Well, that's why they're called possessions. They possess you. Now you've got to do something with it. You either have to take care of it or something, because everything, here is um in a vibratory state, and it gets entropy, and so it starts deteriorating before you even drive it off the lot. So yeah, I think that, I think for me, I just was trying to go the wrong way. I tried to do it the money way and it didn't work. So I'm going the other way. I'm going to go in because that's where it's all at, I think, anyway. And so that's my rant on red Corvettes, Julia.
Right. Less is definitely more. And yeah, if you're all about material, you get to that. That's really get so warped and perverted when they have so much and they don't even know what to do. Like having a dream. I don't know if you can hear them. I always like
Yeah.
to watch dogs when they're dreaming. I'm like, okay, you're in one reality, and I'm seeing this reality. Because a dream is just as real as this. You were saying, well, yeah, this is real, but it's really not real because even science tells us atoms are 99.99999% empty space. Everything's made of atoms, so everything's 99.99 blah 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 percent empty space. And yeah, so it's what consciousness is the most real thing, and it's just all data, right? In the end, it's all data. And yeah, like Tom Campbell's always saying, consciousness is fundamental, and it is all mind. And and then mind and frequency, those things, your imagination, and get that frequency. And we all know the steps to manifesting, but then you have to think about where your heart is with that and what your intentions are, and that will affect how easy things are to manifest as well. Because if you have really good intentions, if you want to manifest a lot of money so you can help a lot of people, you're more likely to do that than if you just want it so you can hoard numbers on a computer screen like billionaires do. The way the greed is off the chain in today's world, just insane. So you see it go so polar, and that way you have to go, okay, well, it must be pretty awesome going the other way. And we're starting to see that more and more. These people are just like, whatever, it's crazy out there, but I'm going to be over here just keeping my reality awesome, and helping people when I can. And that's something that we have to keep in mind, that part of the reason we're here is to be in service of others, but we do have to take care of ourselves first and get ourselves straight before we can help others out. And it doesn't take a lot to help others either. So I think if we can all just get more compassionate, and people who do want help, be there for them. So I think the time has come when a lot of people are going to get healing, because I think back to my parents' generation, nobody was even talking about this kind of thing. People, they didn't even know they needed to be emotionally healed. I didn't either till I heard about this kind of thing back in 2016. So yeah, it's just that the time has come, like you said earlier.
I agree, Julia. I think that that's where, we're all moving in that direction. It's just a big jump going from, okay, we live in a physical reality with physical matter to, well, maybe we're really just energy living in a, you know, and we're here in this realm as, and it's not real. It's just like a video game. And it's a big jump. It's a big jump to take. I think that we are on the precipice of that jump. A lot more people are starting to understand that it is mind over matter and that it is the foundational reality. I think that it's just a big jump to take. I know I spent a few years going back and forth, and I still do. It's like, oh, wait a minute, what is going on here energetically? And once I started focusing in things that you can't see, it seems like everything just starts writing itself. Um, but as long as you're just caught up in the physical day to day, thing, and that this is a physical world, physical reality, that's all there is, then that's when things start going off course again, because it's not the foundational reality. So you're kind of you're standing underneath the tree, you've got a stick, and you're kind of swiping at the leaves on the tree, trying to make changes when really the leaf has nothing to do. You need to go down to the root of the tree to make fundamental changes down deep in there. So it's just a long journey, and I think that consciousness has come a long way. If you look back through the generations, you can kind of see this incremental step here that's just ever so slightly just stepping humans closer and closer to the reality that what you think is going on here is not, it's not a physical reality. It's a big jump, and I think it can bring on fears and things like that. It's like, okay, if what I can't see is the real reality, what's going to get me, Well, I think that it can increase our entropy there, and it makes us more incohesive. But then as we start working through the process of it, okay, but wait a minute, I'm also I'm also mind and part of it. So I have a co-creating capacity here, and I can change my reality from what it is just by feeling and thinking different things. And once you start getting into that area of it, then it's not near as scary. But I think that this world of, not being able to see what we really are or what's going on here, I think just automatically creates a level of fear in humans because we get our experiences from when we're young, and it totally appears to the consciousness that this is not, that this is a physical world. I trip, I fall down, I bump my knee. Well, that's a physical thing that's happening to me, and it's just really, really, really hard to start thinking in a different way when you've thought one way for many years. And I think that's what this new therapy may be coming out to assist people with, is to defrag the computer that we are, where we got the programming that this is all physical. And really, though, when you're thinking that way, you're going the wrong way. It's like that movie, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where they're driving down there and they're trying to tell them, hey, you're going the wrong way. But they can't see it until they just, end up all wrapped up around the axle in it. So it's a journey. And I agree with you. My parents had a whole different system, and where if you just think about a God outside of you that's taking care of you and that's all you need to do, then you'll be okay. And that was the thoughts back in the day. And I think even as this new, Christian thing is coming into being, because hard times, well, people are always going to turn to God or something to try to help them, because it's scary when we see the physical world not being what it's always been before. And I think that even the people that are going in that direction, I think it's also going to assist them and pulling them out of this everything is physical, because it's still pulling them into a spiritual direction. Even if it's you've still got, an in between you and, the larger part of you, which I think is love. So it seems like it's all set up in all these different ways to, okay, this consciousness needs this consciousness needs that, this consciousness needs this. So I think that in this realm we can all get what we need, and it's all seems to be trying to advance us in this spiritual direction, and in the long run get rid of this go between you and your oversoul, which I think is the larger part of us, which is connected to the divinity, the source or whatever, because we can't see it. So I think that it's all just been a progression towards that ends. And hopefully, I think we may be standing right here at the edge of getting the correct data that we need to further go into the spiritual element of consciousness. That's my rant, Julia.
Woohoo! Sounds fun.
Oh, it's work, but it can be fun
But
work.
yeah, I mean, I'm listening to the audiobook biography of a yogi. Listen to that or read that book, because you'll see how physical this world is. Just like the other book, the more recent one, what's it called? The one that's set in Spain, The Alchemist. You know, really anything is possible, right? And if you have a powerful enough intention, know exactly the right frequency to resonate at, I mean, you can do magic, true magic. So, yeah, anything is possible here. And what's most definitely possible is for you to live a content, you know, peaceful, abundant life. I mean, that's, you know, you can do that and still be in service of others and still learn lessons.
Oh, we lost Julia there. Her connection. We've got a lot of crazy weather going on in the realm, so it's probably affecting this connection. There you are, Julia. I was just we lost you there for a minute. But I was
Yeah.
what I was going to say is, you may not have heard Julie. You were breaking up just a little bit, but Julie was talking about the book written by Yogananda, um, Autobiography of a Yogi. And it was really an inside look at a lot of the yogis from India and how they had mastered this realm. And that, and that was basically what he was coming out to tell people, is this is a spiritual realm that we live in. And with his consciousness, you could see what he could do here. And he manifested it and showed everybody, look, this is how this place works. And he talked about that a lot, of how the unseen is the real reality. And that was why he came to the West, was to introduce meditation and yoga to the West. And I think that was one of the first stepping stones here, was to introduce those concepts, because meditation, what does it do? It brings you back to yourself. And what does, yoga do? It brings you back into your body, which is connected to your higher centers and, those deeper frequencies. So I think that you got to start somewhere. And so in America, now in India, this is well known. It's well known that we ask a lot, they believe they live in a spiritual plane, and that's what they know it, But over here in America, since we haven't, this is a new country. If you look at how long Britain's been there and how long, these other countries have been existing. Well, it's new here. I don't know if it's from a reset or whatever, but our history doesn't go back that far. And so I think that it only makes sense that from India comes this yogi, comes back to America to reseed this information here in America. And before Yogananda came to America, there was nobody talked about yoga, nobody talked about meditation. It was not part of, the physical reality that everybody believed was real here. And then after that, and now look at it, a lot of people understand, well, if I meditate, I feel better, I do better. Also, if I do yoga, my body feels better and I can function better. So I think that with the introduction of that, well, that was what, 100 years ago. And I think now the consciousness is ready for the next step of going into, okay, this is a spiritual world we live in. What do I need to do to create a reality that has less suffering and less angst and less pain in it? And I think once we get on this bandwagon, that we're on this spiritual journey here all together and we're all connected together, that's what's going to bring in more compassion. It's going to bring in more love, because instead of seeing other people as, oh, well, you're just this bad thing here, they'll have compassion because they're struggling and they're suffering as it is. And when we see each other as all souls here that are evolving and growing, it changes our perception and it shifts us into a space where we can use, these higher tools of imagination, empathy, and imagination. And what's the other one, Julie? There's three.
Intuition.
Intuition, yeah. So we can step into using these, which I think are spiritual tools, and are not connected to the physical, and we can use those to create a better reality for ourselves. So I think it's just all a progression, because if you look at everything that's been going on, it seems that, you know, that things are shifting and changing, but not in the ways that we think they are. I think that it's shifting and changing into, this is a spiritual place we're in, not a physical place. Because when you believe that this is just a physical place we live in, that's when you get all the problems that you get with materialism. That's when you get all of the, trying to feel these spiritual inner realities with physical things that doesn't help it. It doesn't make it get any better. You stay stuck, but then you're having to do and work and go in a lot of different directions just to maintain that. When, if you can just let go of all that and then just go in and work with your inner, spirituality, then that is what shifts and changes the outer reality, which is what Yogananda's book was all about, is bringing the correct information in the form of yoga and meditation. So I agree with you, Julia. I think that he was trying to tell people something. And I think that, maybe he'll be back someday to talk about it some more. What do you think?
Oh, we know he's already back, right? And it's so interesting because you're like, oh, well, he wanted to introduce people to meditation. That reminds me of somebody current. And that this is not a real reality. That reminds me of somebody else current. But yeah, very cool. I think, yeah, we're at an apex. That's why there are so many magical people around that we all get to know about. Back in the day, only a few people got to know about these local. So yeah, it's our time to flip the script from the misery to real contentment. And like you were saying in your last video, Cheryl, something you can ask yourself before you do things: does it bring you peace? And you, like you were just saying now, we want to make choices that just lessen suffering in general. So yeah, good advice.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a really big one. I don't remember who was talking about, it, but I was talking to somebody. No, it was somebody that was here at my house. And my roommate walked in. It's like, oh, I'm struggling with this thing. And what do you think? And that was what came out. It's like, well, think about it this way. Does it bring you peace? And if it brings you peace, do it. If it doesn't, then think about why you want to do it. Right? Because then
Right.
that'll get you closer to what your intention really is. And our intention and our intent, that's what creates for us here. And when that intent is skewed a little bit and your perception is off, well, if you go back and kind of clean your perception up a little bit, then your intent will go into more of these directions. I intend and I want to be more compassionate around those that are struggling and that are suffering. I want to be more compassionate on in situations where I feel triggered and I want to kick back, but you know, instead of going in that direction, just having compassion for what is, because I think in general, most people are doing the best they can with what they have. And everybody's at a different station here in their learning and growth. And that's why I think judgment is just so bad. Is it's You're just adding negative things onto that spiritual being that they're desperately trying to break the chains and get out of. And I think that that's one way, that we can get into a better frame of mind is, does this bring me peace? Just slow down and meditate a little bit, check in, see how you feel. And then when you're talking to other people, it's easier when you have compassion for yourself and you're doing the inner work to have compassion for other people that are doing the work too. And just because it's a dysfunctional thing this person may be doing, that's not who they are. They're a soul under there. We are not what we do. We're not what we say. That's not who we are. I think the real reality is we are these beings of light under here that are here to grow and evolve. And I think we're all connected together. And having more compassion for each other is just going to help you in the long run and help the other person that's out there struggling too. And I think that's part of getting to that place where you can do that is going through and getting some kind of defrag program going on for yourself that weeds out some of this negativity that, has been within yourself for a long time. The more you work towards that, then that helps you become more positive, which then that helps everybody around you. It's that thing. It's always the same. Be the change you want to see in the world. And I think that's where that comes from. What do you think, Julia?
Definitely. And yeah, empathy, it's one of the things that sets us apart. So we got to have that empathy. And if people seem inconsiderate or incompetent or whatever, you just have to view it from an empathetic perspective instead of a judgmental perspective, and it will bring you peace. If you get judgmental or frustrated or angry or whatever, that doesn't bring you peace. So I like that, that little question, because it can be asked in all kinds of different scenarios. But we've been on here a little over an hour and we talked about a lot of stuff, so we probably should go ahead and wrap it up. You have any last things to say, Cheryl?
Well, let's see. The only last things I could say at this point is, um, be the change you want to see in the world, and even if you're having a struggle and having a hard time, don't give up. A lot of times that's just right before you're going to make a breakthrough. It's that saying, it's always darkest before the dawn. And sometimes when we're growing and evolving, it's very uncomfortable. But that's just right before you're ready to make a breakthrough. And just push through it and just understand that, this isn't a place that it's not here to hurt you. This place is to help you evolve and grow if you can really learn how to use this in the right, correct ways. And I think that there's hope for everyone, and just send lots of love and compassion to those of y'all that are pedaling, keeping your nose above water. And I know I do the same thing, and I struggle here too, and so does Julia. But we're all in this together, and we can do this. And thank you for all you do, Julia. I think that your work has been wonderful, and you've helped so many here already. Just in your understanding of what's going on around us, and and telling people the good news that that we all have the capacity to evolve and grow from where we are. And so we appreciate you, Julia, so much.
Oh, and we appreciate you too, Cheryl. You do all the same things. You're out here just trying to share the good news. So that's what we can do, and that's what we're here for. I think everybody that's here at this time, we're all meant to be here. We're all discovering our purpose. And when you find your purpose and you get on board and make it part of your everyday existence, it takes care of so many issues in your life. Any kind of bad habits you have, you don't really have those anymore because you're just so focused and so passionate about your purpose. So let's all find our purpose and get out there and just have fun, enjoy this ride. So thanks everyone for listening, and hope you have a good morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are. Remember to stay focused on what you want and help others if you can. Thank you again, Cheryl, and we will talk again soon.
Much love, and ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
There you are.
Let me stop the recording.
Yeah.
I don't see it doesn't have the record button anywhere.
Well, on my end, it says recording. Let's see.